Good evening and welcome to the Town Board meeting for the Town of Ossining for March 11th, 2014. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Councilmember Harder.
Present.
Councilmember Jeffrey.
Present.
Councilmember Wilshire.
Present.
Councilmember Blaha.
Present.
Supervisor Donnelly.
Present.
The first item on the agenda is a public hearing in the matter of the 2013 cabaret license for North River Hospitality.
It should say 2014.
Oh, sorry, 2014 cabaret license for the North River Hospitality. Is there anyone here who wishes to address the board?
Yes, sir.
Good evening, and thank you. Mindy Lamar, Haymont Terrace. I'm really not sure I understand why we're having a public hearing, since the board has already voted and your intentions have been published. Personally, I think it's a little bit insulting.
Ma'am, we have not voted.
Well, it's in
it's on
tonight's
this-
agenda, the whole thing.
Yes, but it can be tabled.
Granted.
It can be tabled, too.
Okay, my apologies for that.
No, that's okay.
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure you understood.
Okay,
That's no problem.
as you probably know, on June 22nd, 2013, at about 6:15 p.m., I left a voicemail message for you, Supervisor. I followed it up with an email on June 25th to the entire board that there was extremely loud music coming from Haymount House. It forced us from our home. We first shut our windows and our doors, and we still heard the entire music emanating from Haymont House. As I said in my email, my husband and I left our house. We couldn't stay there. The TV was on. We still heard every single word, verse, note of Fly Me to the Moon, the brass section. This is loud music with amplifiers. As we drove down Studio Hill Road, as luck would have it, we saw Mr. Bruchel driving up to the facility. So we made a U-turn, we followed him. He was lovely. We said to him, the noise is really excruciating. He said, I will have them close the door. The implication there is that he knew the door was open. And clearly, it should not be according to the provision of the cabaret license. My question is this. Since the cabaret license is issued to North River Hospitality Group, which is either a corporation or a partnership or some group, who is actually accountable? Who are the principals who are accountable for making sure that they comply with the license?
Who from that corporation?
Well, yeah.
Who owns that corporation?
Or, yeah.
Yeah. Mr. Bruchel is a part
Okay,
owner of that.
so
yeah.
why wasn't he on the premises if he was expecting music of this nature? Why couldn't he be certain that, in fact, the back door would be closed so that it would not disturb the neighbors?
Okay, we can ask him that question, you know.
My question is also,
I don't think an owner has to be on the premises the whole time.
I was going to ask now, is it possible for you to consider adding a provision to a cabaret license that when there is music of this nature, one of the owners or principals must be on the premises, because he's the only stakeholder here. A manager, if there is a manager, has no stake in this. He doesn't care. Leave the door open. The chef, I don't know if he'd be responsible for that. I don't know how parties work, but it seems to me only the owner would have a stake in making sure that he abides by the provisions of a special license.
Okay, we listened to you, and
Well,
look who just walked in.
I can guess. Thank you.
There seems to be, David Bruchel is one of the owners of Haymont House. So could you just come up to the mic for a second so we can ask you a couple of questions? Because you weren't privy to but the discussion was about a June music problem. Is there always someone in the building that is one of the partners, or?
Always. Yeah.
Okay, so you already have that covered, right?
I mean, there
Okay.
should be no issue whatsoever with sound. A sound measuring device, every time we have a party, I walk the perimeter, which is where it's measured, and whatever the decibel level we're allowed, I think rustling of the leaves from my feet triggers it more than the music from inside. Never anywhere near within the limit. And nobody's ever called and complained about it.
Did you get one complaint from the Lamars?
Not to me.
Okay, I got one.
Excuse me, we followed you up Studio Hill Road. You were walking into the party. We met you on the steps, and you were
Oh.
kind enough to say, "I'll have them shut the door."
Oh, yeah, I am corrected.
Yeah,
It was so long ago, I forgot about
it
it.
was June or something.
I was gonna, can I ask, has there been any issues since that time for you? Okay.
I mean, to be honest, I think that they're a little bit oversensitive. It was a beautiful summer night, and they were playing Sinatra outside with hardly anything that was really troublesome to most people. But when they did come and complain, I did ask them to put it down.
But you haven't had any other times?
No, I haven't had any other times, and we're not sitting there waiting.
No, I totally understand that,
But
yeah.
I do take objection to the fact that you may like Sinatra, somebody else may like rap or hip-hop, and what one person likes, somebody else may not. That's not the issue. The issue is when I have to shut my windows and doors on a summer's night, and have to leave because I can't hear my TV over a 5 or 6 piece orchestra that is amplified.
Well, I have to say that in 1 year, you had one incident, and this is a major business that's going on, so the percentage of times that this...
But have you been more conscious since that day of making sure that the music is inside and the doors are closed?
Are you there when the music starts?
there
Well,
are-
someone, he stated before that one of the principals is there, I would assume at a party especially, right? Okay.
I don't know. I usually there's always somebody there, and actually, obviously, I was there because if you say you spoke to me.
Okay, let's just find out. Thank you. Thank you very much. Is there anyone else that wants to speak on the public hearing of Haymon House? It's a cabaret license this evening. I do want to make it clear, though, when it's on a resolution on that night, it's not that we have already voted on it, okay? It means that should we have it where, for instance, in this particular situation, there was one incident, and, you know, if, and you said that it hasn't happened since, and Mr. Bichelle is trying to, his darndest not to let it happen, because I know they're very conscious up there with their little meters, that we would go ahead and vote on it. We don't really do that, you know, a lot of times, but had we had a large group here and had there been abuse like in the past, we would have tabled that resolution. Mr. Spector?
Yes.
Do you think it's necessary to table it, or?
Well, there's no mandate to table it. It's up to the board members.
Okay.
If a board member made a motion to table the resolution, then the board would consider it. But, you know, as far as there's no mandate to do it. No.
I mean, I just wanted to clarify that point to you, that we did not pre-vote and then bring back the public hearing, which would be totally wrong. Okay, we'll see when we get to that, agenda item. Okay.
Is there a motion to close this public hearing?
There's no one else who wants to speak on the cabaret license for Haymon. I just want to make sure that we're clear on that, right? Okay.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Now,
Are there any announcements this evening?
yes, there is. Good evening. Good evening. Wow, we've had an extremely eventful start of 2014. The administration and board have been very busy with the proposed annexation of Districts 17 and 20, and there were so many other items on our daily agendas. Today we sent out our finding statement concerning the proposed annexation, and it will be read this evening in its entirety, especially for those who do not have access to the Internet and watch our meetings on Government Channel. Much thanks goes out to Wayne Spector, Maddie, and the entire board for all their guidance and input in this project. This has been a long road. We have discussed this topic frequently at work session, legislative meetings, and town hall meetings, and have continually asked residents for their input. We have taken our responsibilities in this matter very seriously and await the vote from the Village of Briarcliff, which is planned this evening at 8 o'clock. Once we've heard what they have to say, we will all have to determine next steps. We have been making sure all invoices for 2013 are paid as we get ready for the auditors during the month of April. There are quite a few budget adjustments on the agenda that Maddie will review with us, and more importantly, that you should know we are staying in our overall spending plan for 2013, with some funds going back to fund balance or the town's rainy day accounts. Town Controller Tom Warren will briefly be discussing the resolutions about levying unpaid water charges on customers' town tax bills if they are unpaid, as well as deferred revenues from real property tax before we begin the agenda this evening, if he gets here in time. If not, we'll do it later in the meeting. The town has seen some turnover of personnel recently, and we will miss all our longtime employees. But we know they have all earned their time to take it easy and pursue their hobbies outside of town business. We want to especially thank Albert Rivera for his almost 40 years of service to this community, and welcome Mario Velardo as the new town parks foreman. Mario has been with the Parks Department for nearly 15 years, and we look forward to moving the Parks Department forward with the benefit of his experience and knowledge. We will continue to work on the Shine House to create an arts center for the whole Ossining community. As you are aware, our Parks Department is a town-wide department. The transfer of revenue from FEMA funds received is allowing us to make this place all the residents in the town of Ossining, young and old, and we look forward to adding it to our extensive list of offerings in the area of recreation as this project becomes complete, as well as the stage at Lewis Angle Park for summer concert series. Speaking of summer concert series, and I'm not going to even tell you how many pieces of paper I have on this desk tonight, we are having a concert on Friday evening. It is two well-known modern Irish groups that will be playing, and because it's St. Patrick's Day. So we're going to have it at the library. It starts at 7:30. The doors will open at 6, and we encourage people to come. If you call us at the office, we can give you information to buying tickets online. The two bands are the Jammin' Divas, which is one of the Clancy brothers' daughters is there, and it's a bunch of different people. I shouldn't say bunch. I'll get in trouble for that. And also Erin Hill and her psychedelic harp, who supposedly pays Danny Boy above and beyond what it's called. It's $40 a person. You get a pint of Guinness with that. And children under 12 are free, $20 for a student, and $20 for a senior if you're over 65. So we would really like people to come. We have some of the flyers with us tonight. These are the Jammin' Divas. It looks like it's going to be an exceptional experience. I'm a firm believer that don't let anything pass you by that you might enjoy. They're Grammy nominated. That you might enjoy because, you'll never get to have that opportunity again, possibly. So we encourage people to go to that Friday night. You can either go to www.ossining.org/Ossining_waterfront_concerts_2014, or you can call us at the office, and we'll gladly get you the information, which is probably what you should do. We will be hiring a replacement aide for the tax and assessor's office. The schedule of these two offices has presented us with a unique opportunity to defray the cost of staffing in the town, as the busy periods in each of these offices are the exact opposite. We are not adding a position, but rather splitting an existing one, getting more work done without losing any employees. This is a perfect example of the kind of creative thinking that this board employs every day to get the most out of your tax dollars. We are closing some capital projects this evening as well, such as Cedar Lane, Stormytown Road water main, which has not only allowed us to bring clearer water to the residents, but also enabled us to allow Cedar Manor, which is a nursing rehab center, to have uninterrupted access to water, even if there's a water main break further down the road. In the past, they would have to shut their water off, which is very detrimental to a nursing rehab center. There is more than $7,500 from this project going back into the debt service to assist in the payments of the bonds. Other projects that are being closed was a highway truck and a leaf machine, and the Sam Stagg Avenue retaining wall. These projects were closed, and as everyone knows, we have other projects that are opened, and our major infrastructure project that we're just starting right now is our Old Albany Post Road, and we refer to it as the dead end, where Old Albany Post Road shoots off, and we're actually in the process of rebuilding that road. That was originally estimated to cost, we didn't even have costs on that one yet, but it's going to cost about $1 million to rebuild that road for all those residents that live on a road that is barely there. In an effort to continually train our employees to not only be safe, but to understand their jobs better, we will be holding confined space training this week, and we will be improving the contract for those services. The town conducts these trainings annually, but we've contracted a firm with lots of hands-on experience and who will guide our employees in the actual physical work involved in entering a confined space. We have also been asked to approve a short-term tax payment plan for a resident who has approached our tax receiver. Please note, this does not release a taxpayer from any obligation, but does allow them to make significant down payment and pay off taxes abiding by a strict payment plan. This is if you are very deep in your in owing your taxes. Our next time-sensitive issue is the revaluation of every parcel property in the town of Ossining. All residential properties, as well as commercial properties, will be reviewed and inspected to determine fair and equitable assessment for taxation purposes. Next Tuesday at our work session, we will meet with Tyler Technology to answer questions from the board and approve the contract that has been worked on by our assessor, Fernando Gonzalez, along with the other municipalities involved, as well as our town attorney, Wayne Spector. Our next town hall meeting is scheduled for April 15th, 2014 at the Public Library. The agenda will be about public awareness on the reval process, that's the word you'll hear all the time, as we believe education and knowledge as to what to expect from this process is essential for all our commercial and residential property owners. Thank you. Madam Clerk.
Are there any public comment on agenda items? Anyone here who wishes
Does anybody want to talk on any of the items on the agenda tonight?
Okay, so we'll move into our board resolutions. Resolution A, approval of minutes regular meeting. Resolved that the town board of the town of Ossining hereby approves the February 25th, 2014 minutes of the regular board meeting as presented. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Approval, letter B, approval of the minutes of the special meeting. Resolved that the town board of the town of Ossining hereby approves the March 4th, 2014 minutes of the special meeting as presented. Do I have a motion?
Second.
Who's first?
Jeff.
Jeff.
Oh.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Letter C, approval of voucher detail report. Resolved that the town board of the town of Ossining hereby approves the voucher detail report dated March 11, 2014 in the amount of $2,831.93 for 2013 and $280,896.46 for 2014 for a grand total of $283,728.39. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Letter D, approval of the cabaret license North River Hospitality Group, Inc., 25 Studio Hill Road, Briarcliff Manor, Town of Ossining. Whereas the North River Hospitality Group, Incorporated, has filed for an application of cabaret license for the calendar year 2014, and whereas the town board has reviewed the application and attachments thereto, as well as reports from involved departments, including the police department and building department. Whereas on March 11, 2014, the town board opened a public hearing on the subject cabaret application, at which time all persons interested were given an opportunity to speak on behalf of or in opposition to the cabaret application, and the public hearing was closed on March 11, 2014. Now therefore be it resolved that the town Board of the Town of Ossing hereby approves the application of the North River Hospitality Group Incorporated, 25 Studio Hill Road, Briarcliff Manor, in the unincorporated area of the Town of Ossing for a cabaret license subject to the following limitations and conditions. 1, DJ using karaoke machine shall be allowed on Sunday through Thursday evenings from 12 p.m. until 11 p.m., and live music on Friday evenings from 12 p.m. until 12 a.m. Hours of cabaret operation 12 p.m. to 12 p.m. Sunday through Thursday, 12 p.m. to 12 a.m. Friday and Saturday. Number 2, alcohol will be served.
12 to 11.
The first one is 12 to 11 p.m. Sunday through Thursday. Number 2, alcohol will be served only after obtaining a liquor license
Well,
through
that goes back to the
through the New York State Liquor Authority. Number 3, one band, one DJ, sound system, TV, or movie with a maximum of 6 performers will be allowed. No amplified music will be allowed outside the premises at any time. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Just want to point out to you that should anything like that happen and you call the building department, then, or the police, he would get a ticket, so, you know. Okay?
And also, it's my own. It really does sound like it hasn't happened since, and that they're willing to work with you on that. And I'm sure if you call the premises and ask to speak to either yourself or a manager, they would. But hopefully, it hasn't happened in a while, so hopefully it won't be a problem.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Letter E, calling for a public hearing in the matter of an amendment to the 2014 cabaret license for Maya Riviera. Resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Ossing hereby calls for a public hearing to be held on Tuesday, March 25th, 2014, at 7:30 p.m. in the Police Court Facility, 8688 Spring Street in Ossining, in the matter of the amendment to hours of 2014 cabaret application for Maya Riviera, 518 North State Road, Briarcliff Manor, New York, 10510.
So moved. Second.
I just want to point out what that's all about. That is the Mexican/Italian restaurant that took over for Tuscan Grill, and all they're asking for is when you see it, it will be a karaoke machine a couple hours later in the evening than they have it right now. They had it ending at 11, and they wanted they wanted it to change it to 1. So, but it will all be out if anybody has any questions on that. Okay. This is only calling for the public hearing.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Letter F, Appointment Planning Board. Resolve that the Town Board of the Town of Ossing hereby appoints Gareth Huffam, Ossing, to the Town of Ossing Planning Board to serve the remainder of a 5-year term set to expire on December 31st, 2014.
Sorry.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
This is Gareth's big night. This is Gareth Huffman. We're just starting. We had someone resign from the planning board. Gareth lives in the unincorporated area, so he's a fine young man and a very stabilizing factor between the EAC and the planning board, which is where we're headed to. We're happy.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Letter G,
Can I just stop you for a second?
Sure.
Did you bring the cabaret license?
oh, yes, is he leaving?
That's okay. He can wait.
Oh, okay.
Just wanted to make sure she had it and you didn't wait.
It's going to be a long wait.
You want to take a second? So we want Tom to get rested because he has to talk to us too. So, but we'll get through these. We're going to get through these personnel appointments and stuff.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you.
welcome. Okay,
Sorry about that, Madam Clerk.
that's okay. Letter G, person,
Mr. Boucher, if I could suggest, you might want to just give a list of the managers to the Lamars, so that if there is a problem, they can speak directly to a manager and not get.
Yeah.
Just one thing before you go. If it happens only every 9 months, don't worry about it.
It's actually every 21 months, because last year, I remember, there wasn't one person there.
Right. And we talked about that one incident. So we
Thank you.
thank you. Sorry again, Madam Clerk.
Why That's okay. Letter,
Look at Wayne.
okay, letter G, Personnel Retirement Parks Department. Resolve the Town Board of the Town of Ossining hereby accepts with regret the retirement of Parks Foreman Albert Rivera effective February 28, 2014.
So moved with regret.
Second.
Just to point out that last Friday was Albert Rivera Day here in the town of Ossining. So.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Letter H, Personnel Parks Department Promotion. Resolve the Town Board of the Town of Ossining hereby promotes Mario Velardo, Assistant Parks Foreman, to the probationary title of Parks Foreman at an annual salary of $79,279, effective March 3rd, 2014. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Letter I, Appointment Assessment Tax Aid. Resolve the Town Board of the Town of Ossining hereby appoints Patty Cunningham Ossining to the full-time provisional position of Assessment Tax Aid effective March 13, 2014, at an annual salary of $41,500. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Letter J, 2013 Budget Adjustment Capital Project 2013-2183, Shine House Restoration. Resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Ossining authorizes the adjustment of Capital Project 2013-2183 entitled Shine House Restoration from $51,800 to $65,350 with the additional amount of $13,550 to be funded by a transfer from General Fund FEMA revenues. Increase $13,550 Shine House Restoration expense. Increase $13,550 Shine House Restoration revenue. Increase $13,550 fund balance revenue. Increase $13,550 transfer expense. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Mr. I think we could just stop the resolutions for a second. I would like Mr. Warren to. We're on the unpaid water bills. We're at that point. It's our next resolution. We would like our town comptroller to come up and talk to us a few minutes on, just to explain very briefly on our resolution authorizing levy on unpaid water charges to town tax bills.
Yes, thank you. And actually, I'm really more here in my capacity as a village treasurer because as the village treasurer, I filed a certified list with the town asking them I had filed a certified list with the town asking that unpaid water accounts in the town outside villages area be levied on the 2014 town and county tax roll that will be collected starting in April. And I did
So
not.
it's only for the residents that live in the unincorporated area, right?
That is correct.
That have
I
unpaid
had
water.
unpaid water bills for a year through December 2013.
Okay.
And we gave them ample opportunity to pay. We warned them that it would be added on their tax bill if it wasn't paid, and that there would probably be additional charges added because the town does have in their fee schedule an administrative fee that gets added on to the amount that the village turns over to the town for collection. So we had shared you a tentative list back in early February, I believe. That list has come down somewhat. I forgot what the exact amount was.
Can I just ask, did you just say over, right now the list is for people who haven't paid for over a year? Because the resolution's of 3 months. That we can, so going forward, are we doing this?
This is a process that has been going on for a number of years. I think the 3 months means that the water bill had been unpaid for 3 months. So as of now, it's been unpaid as of 3 months. These were payments that were due in December. So like, for instance, a December water bill that is due in January would not be on the list. This would only be, I believe, through November that was due in December.
Yeah, because the water bills are not in a,
They're quarterly, right?
but it's not this, yeah.
They are quarterly, yes.
Right. So if I get a bill in January and I haven't paid by April,
No, a year ago. You have to be not paid for a year.
I think I'm having trouble understanding whether this is this is just to these people, or whether this is a general resolution going, well, you're saying this already is enacted. We do
We
this.
do this, we do this every year.
Okay.
This is a process
Got it.
under the IMA between the town and the village to provide water in the area outside the village. The town agrees to collect delinquent water accounts for the village.
Right.
And it's also a process that's permitted under New York State town law for a government to petition another government to ask them to put unpaid amounts onto the
But
tax.
it would only be people that have not paid for over a year.
But is that accurate, Tom? It's for people who haven't paid for over a year?
It's as far back as a year at the longest, and at the shortest, it's 3 months.
This is an annual event, so.
Well, then I'm mistaken, I think.
Does not in a, at various intervals. They do it once a year. They provide us with this. So I guess it depends.
Some people could be one
that's
quarterly bill, it could be 2 quarterly bills, it could be 3.
That's the cutoff from last year.
I get it.
now they're on this
That's
one.
why
So-
there's different.
Or the people most recent are just overdue by 3 months right now. So there's a range of
Right.
dates.
So-
The does not funnel every 3 months, but every 3 months after billing cycle, new names. They do this once a year,
Right.
and they provide the names, but they're all different time periods.
Okay,
At
but
least 3 months.
so then this allows for a lien to be placed?
No, it gets added to your tax bill.
Which then becomes a lien. That's
Yeah.
correct.
Well, I'm just saying, so somebody only got away with it for 3 months, somebody else got away with it for 9. That seems a little unfair.
There's a penalty added each.
Okay.
There's a
People
penalty.
have not paid,
That's all it is.
Yeah.
It doesn't change the fact of what they owe and what the interest rates are.
If you don't pay your water bill and it's in the middle of that year, you have a penalty on your next water bill.
Yes.
and the alternative is, under the village code, we're allowed to shut people's water off. This seems to be the more painless method of trying to collect water payments.
Yeah, I understand.
So just for my clarification, so no person would be on the list owing taxes for more than 1 year. If they owed for a full year, they would be their water bill would be added to the tax bill.
It's potentially possible.
And then they start over again, but they still
Right,
owe the money on their
right,
taxes with the penalties.
Right, and we also, and there's also one other factor is that we won't turn over anything less than $100. So it's possible that somebody might have $50 owing from a year ago and another $60, and now it's reached $110. So, that unpaid balance could conceivably be a 2-year period of time. But in large part, most of these are just 1 year's worth of unpaid water bills, up to 1 year's.
Again, I just want you to understand that this is not an additional penalty for it. It's just another means of collecting it. I mean, there's an administrative fee that goes on, but it doesn't add to a person's bill per se.
Which has already been added to by the village.
That's correct.
Okay. So we call you up the next time for, do you want to just go over real quickly, because that's really not on this agenda, the deferred revenue, Tom?
I'll be glad to come back at the end of your resolutions if you'd like.
Are you sure? Okay.
I will stay
right.
here.
You are a village treasurer.
But I will be reappearing as a town controller.
Okay, thank you. For the deferred
There's
revenues.
a curtain over there something.
Okay, so let's move forward, Madam Clerk.
Okay. Letter K, resolution authorizing levy of unpaid water charges on the town tax roll. Whereas pursuant to an intermunicipal agreement Water IMA dated January 1st, 2002, the Village of Ossining supplies water to the unincorporated area of the town of Ossining, town outside, and directly bills consumers in the town of Ossining, town outside, for water supplied pursuant to the Water IMA, and whereas pursuant to the Water IMA, any water charges that is delinquent for 3 or more months shall be levied against the delinquent property by the town, and shall be subject to penalty in the manner provided by law, in which event, upon collection by the town shall remit the amount collected to the Village of Ossining, and whereas pursuant to Section 198 of the town law, the town of Ossining is authorized to levy unpaid water charges against delinquent properties. Now therefore be it resolved that any water charges to a customer outside the Village of Ossining corporate limits and in the town of Ossining that is delinquent for 3 or more months shall be levied against the delinquent property and shall be subject to penalty in the manner provided by law. And therefore be it resolved that the village treasurer, on the behalf of the village clerk of the Village of Ossining, shall file with the supervisor of the town of Ossining, as required by law, statement showing unpaid water charges to customers outside the Village of Ossining corporate limits, but within the town of Ossining, which are delinquent for 3 or more months, and that such statement shall contain a brief description of the property upon which the water was used, the names of the persons or corporations liable to pay for the same, and the amounts and chargeable to each for the purposes of levy and enforcement under water rents. And upon receipt of such statement, the supervisor will transmit said statement of delinquent water charges to the receiver of taxes for levy against those delinquent properties. Do I have a motion?
So move. Second?
It should say that it's delinquent for 3 or more months at the end of each calendar year, because this is only submitted annually. If somebody's delinquent for January, February, and March, come April, this isn't submitted
So we'll
and
just-
added to their taxes. It's only at the end of each calendar year, where if they are
Okay.
delinquent for 3 or more months.
All right, so we can amend the thing for 3 or more months at the end of a calendar year, just to put in at the end of a calendar year.
That's not true.
Okay.
And what is it?
How the billing cycles work.
You're
It
right.
gets added to the tax, it gets added to the taxes for the April tax, the April town tax. So it's not necessarily tied to a calendar year.
Well, then whatever the billing cycle is, though, but this is not submitted every 3 months, only submitted once a year.
Because the town tax only sends a tax bill, the town only sends a tax bill
We don't
once
have
a year.
like multiple payments.
I understand, I
Yeah.
just think that it should be clarified.
Right.
Well, you know, what we'll do is for next year, because I'm sure this is the same exact resolution that they've used since 2002, which was probably the one they used before that, too, so.
Can we change the title to annual resolution authorizing levy of unpaid levy?
Yeah, why don't we do that?
Helpful?
Is that good for you?
Sure.
All those in favor?
Aye.
If I may, question. Tom, are there any other customers other than the unincorporated area of the town of Ossining
In this
that
resolution?
that receive water from the village?
Guys, the village?
As I recall, there is one customer that technically might be in the Village of Briarcliff Manor, but and I think that's why I modified the certificate that I file, because instead of petitioning Briarcliff to collect one payment, they're outside of the Village of Ossining, and so I'm still petitioning the town to collect it on the town and county tax rolls since they're in the town of Ossining.
Thank you.
I don't believe law can sell water across the town border.
Right. We can't sell water to
Anyone in Newcastle.
Newcastle or Yorktown or anything.
Even though they're in Briarcliff, they're still under the umbrella of the town.
You see me questioning that, right?
It's,
I don't know that you cannot, is it because of municipal law? Because
we've had this discussion. Yeah, we've had this discussion, and as it stands right now, we had that meeting on this, right? So as it stands right now, that's the way it was, because they wanted to annex that.
I know, but is that a municipal law that we can't sell? It's not a state law.
I think it's a question of the health department.
look it over again.
But I think it's the health department.
Advise if you can't sell water
Right.
across the town border.
But that has nothing to do with this resolution.
Right.
So, Madam
We
Clerk,
can talk
could-
about that another time, but.
Madam Clerk,
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
As amended.
as amended.
As amended.
Okay, letter L, 2013 Budget Adjustment Capital Project 2011-2175 Cedar Lane, Stormy Town Road, Water Mains. Resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Ossining authorizes a 2013 budget adjustment to Capital Project 2011-2175 entitled Cedar Lane, Stormy Town Road, Water Mains in the amount of $7,597.28, decreasing the project expenditure account to $392,642.72 and transferring the unexpended balance of $7,597.28 to debt service as appropriated surplus. Decrease $7,597.58 Cedar Lane, Stormy Town Road, Water Mains. Increase $7,597.58 transfer to other funds. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Letter M, capital projects closed. Resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Ossining hereby authorizes the following completed capital projects to be closed: Sam Stagg Avenue retaining wall, highway dump truck, highway leaf machine. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
This just makes it a lot easier for the auditors, so.
Okay. Letter N, contract start group for confined space training. Resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Ossining hereby authorizes the supervisor to sign a contract with Stark Group of Bloomingdale, Illinois, for a confined space training course to be held in March of 2014 in a form of acceptable to the town attorney. Do I have a motion?
Can I ask a question? What is confined space training?
It's when they have to go down into a manhole or, down more than like 4 feet.
Or if, for example, if it's been digging dirt.
Yeah, like if you had to go, right.
Oh, okay.
Or if the ground gave out or something like that. It's when they have to go below ground.
Got it.
Yeah, they have to make sure the sides are very secure and everything.
It's very dangerous.
Yeah. It is excellent training. Go ahead.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Oh, did I get a motion?
I
I'm
don't think there was a
sorry.
motion.
May I have a
So
motion?
moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Letter O, budget modifications. Resolve the Town Board of the Town of Ossining hereby accepts or hereby makes the following budget adjustments to the 2013 adopted budget. Following budget modifications are on file at the clerk's office, and they are also available on the town's website. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Maddie, do you want to speak on this for just to give a recap? It's something.
Yeah,
that
I mean, basically, these are just closing as much as possible. I think there's still a handful of 2013 bills hanging out there, but hopefully they'll be within the appropriate budget lines. But I believe this is only the second or possibly third set of budget adjustments we did for the 2013 budget, and it was actually very simple to go through, and that's to the credit of all of our department managers. Normally what might happen at the end of a year is, say, Kim's department might be short by $200 and she'll have to borrow from Jeff's department. Fortunately, this year, the only borrowing we had to do was inside people's very own departments. So, for example, if they underspent on paper, they overspent on ink, but in their same budget. So it was pretty clean, and I think now would be a good time to talk about
Yeah.
deferred revenues coming into.
Are you ready, or do you want to wait?
Yeah,
Question?
yeah, of course.
May I notice in here, in deference to a council member, that there is no activity under the cemetery line.
Let's see.
There's no adjustment to the
There's,
budget.
yep, there is. You'll see in the middle of the fourth page, it's a little indented, strangely. You'll see it says cemeteries, and then there's 2 bolded lines underneath, gasoline and maintenance and repair. But as you can see, the adjustment is made from another cemetery line.
thank
So
you
it's
very
going
much.
from gasoline and maintenance and repair is coming out of equipment.
But I just want to make it clear that the cemetery continues to be self-sufficient, and this is all done by funds in a special cemetery, Dale Cemetery fund that is very skillfully maintained by our finance department. So Tom's going to speak a few minutes on deferred revenue, which is, in essence, the collection of taxes after the fact.
That's
that-
right. And
talk about it.
thank you. I'm now here as the town controller to
You look different.
talk on this subject. I comb the hair on the other side. And this is a discussion that we generally have every year because it's so critical to the town's financial well-being. And I often try to guess what that magic number is going to be. And I'm often found myself to be wrong. But what I just had passed around was a list of the town's tax assets from 2008 to 2013. As you know, the town has to make the county and the school districts whole on their tax warrants, and as a result, the town, in effect, buys these tax assets. And as you also well know, not everybody pays their property taxes, but every year that we do this, the really important thing is that most everybody pays their property taxes. The tax levy for the town is only about like $15 million, but then when you add on the county taxes that you have to collect and the school district taxes, you're talking well over $100 million that needs to be collected. And if people don't pay their property taxes, the town has to, as I said, make the schools and the county whole, and these become tax assets for the town, and then the town goes through the foreclosure process if they don't get paid. Even though, by and large, most people pay their property taxes, there are a few that don't get paid for whatever reason. And so what we have to do is we have to do a calculation of the tax collections for the first 60 days at the end of the fiscal year, because that's what governmental accounting policies state. And so the upper part of the worksheet shows the net tax assets, and this kind of mirrors what has happened with the economy back in 2008, and the amount of the unpaid taxes, and we're really only talking about the town and county taxes as well as prior tax liens as of December 31st, because as of December 31st, you're in the middle of collecting the current year school taxes. So we ignore those until they become delinquent for a year, and then they become tax liens. So back in 2008, when things were still relatively good, the town had tax assets of about $409,000, and then when the economy turned bad in 2009, the amount of the unpaid taxes increased dramatically to $1.2 million. It has decreased a little bit in 2010 and 11 and 12. It stayed about the same. At the end of 2012, it was $1,182,000. At the end of 2013, though, the amount of the unpaid tax assets increased to more than $1.5 million. So if the town were to record the property tax revenues and take into consideration these unpaid tax assets and tax liens on a cash basis, from 2012 to 2013, the town would have to set aside $382,000 of fund balance, and it would negatively impact fund balance. But because we're looking at the 60-day collection window after the end of the fiscal year, things turned out very well for the town in 2014, in which a very large taxpayer paid their taxes, including prior year tax liens, on January 31st. And so as a result, the town was able to actually recoup almost $400,000 of prior year taxes, and so that would actually serve to increase fund balance as of the December 31st. And the lower part of the worksheet is this calculation of the deferred tax revenue, and the balance that sort of corresponds with the amount of the tax liens. And I bracketed the amount for 2010, 11, and 12. The amount of the deferred taxes after 2009 increasing $381,000, which really was the primary factor that caused the town's fund balance to decrease so much in 2009, 2010, 11, and 12. There was another $368,000 in uncollected taxes that the town had to set aside the deferred tax revenue for, and had to find other revenue sources to offset those in order to help preserve fund balance. And so the 2013 extra amount that the town was able to recoup from these tax collections in early 2014 helped to offset the amount that had to be set aside in 2010, 11, and 12. So, on average, it's sort of, over the long term, sort of evens itself out. When people don't pay their taxes, you have to set aside more monies, but as you go through the foreclosure process, and especially as you bump up against the foreclosure period of time, people pay their taxes, as in this instance, and so it sort of offsets each other's. But this is really good financial news for the town, that for property tax collections, there's going to be a positive revenue variance of $389,000 for the 2013 year, and this on top of the excess mortgage tax monies that were collected in the general fund as well.
I just want to point out that this is, for the most part, one taxpayer who owed a great deal of money to the town from the school taxes and unpaid school taxes and unpaid county taxes, as well as their town taxes, that they came forth. And I want to extend to the Village of Ossining a thank you for putting a little pressure on this particular. It's a village property of this particular property owner.
Well, thank you, but this village property owner didn't pay the village, and so good news for the town, not so good news for the village.
I'm sure the village will pursue that.
It'll average out over time.
It will.
And so to sort of circle back to the good news, is that at the end of all of the budget adjustments, we actually came in with fewer expenditures than we had predicted in the 2013 budget. So aside from all the good news that Tom just shared, there will be some more money going back to fund balance as a result of us underspending effectively. So
I think that a big thank you has to go out to all our department heads and who have really rallied around some very strict controls that we've put in the last couple of years, and I really want to thank them. Everyone is very consciously looking at their budget. They understand that they are spending taxpayer dollars, not their own dollars, and we are very, very conscious in the town all the time, and we work very lean and mean in the town. And just a perfect example of that is the shared services of one employee for the assessor's office as we go into the reval program and the tax receiver's office. So working out well.
Madam Supervisor, is this a good opportunity to also thank our budget officer?
Absolutely.
when is it not?
Thank you, Maddie.
Yeah, of course. Glad to.
I thought I was conservative. Maddie makes me look like I'm a liberal. I'm pretty physically conservative. So, thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Maddie, and thank you again to all our department managers who are working very hard to save that taxpayer dollar. Madam Clerk.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
There was no motion. There was no motion.
We did a motion,
Yes.
Northern and Eric.
We did?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Usually I'm talking for the motion. I'm going to, this has been a night of not smooth sailing for the old resolutions, but this is a very, very important resolution. And Resolution P, and I'll read it, is the final determination of the proposed election district 17 and 20 annexation from the unincorporated area into the village of Briarcliff. I'm going to before we read the before we read the resolution, as I said in my opening speech, that we are going to read the findings report out loud. We have quite a few people that don't have. We sent it out to the to our blog people, the people that get our web blasts every day. We sent it out to the media this afternoon, and we sent it out to the villages too, so that they would have it in advance. But we still have quite a few people that that watch us on television and don't necessarily have access to a computer to look it up. So we are going to read it into, and we are officially reading it into the record tonight. I'm going to read the first paragraph, and then Wayne and Maddie are going to read the findings statement. So I ask you to be patient with us. We think it's very, very important. It's been worked on by every person on this board, as well as Maddie and Wayne, and everybody has been involved in it in the town, and we think that it's a very, very factual statement to make on this proposed annexation of Election District 1720 from the unincorporated area into the village of Briarcliff Manor. The Town of Ossining, this is the official findings. The Town of Ossining annexation findings, objections, and determination. The following represents the findings, objections, and determination of the Town Board of the Town of Ossining in connection to the petition resulting in the matter of annexation of elections districts 17 and 20, which will be from now on referred to as 1720, by certain petitioners registered to vote and residing within the districts 17 and 20, to be considered by the governing boards of both the Town of Ossining, now referred to as the Town Board, and the Village of Briarcliff Manor, Village Board, in accordance with provisions of Article 7 of the New York General Municipal Law.
Just before I start, I'd like to echo your statements about the collaborative nature and the how much input was given by the various board members, even those board members who might have been waiting to the 11th hour to submit certain comments and redline comments. But I think it was a very, very thought out and, like I said, a very collaborative, not rushed document. So I thank everybody for,
Tremendous amount of time spent on this project alone. So.
Okay, so I'm going to start reading with the heading Preliminary Statement. The Town Board recognizes the rights of the residents of a municipality to seek annexation to another municipality, only if such annexation would be in the best interest of the entire community that would be affected by such proposed annexation. After years of due diligence, including extensive analysis by the Town Board, input from the community, and meetings and exchange of information between the boards of the Town of Ossining and the Village of Briarcliff Manor, it is patently clear that annexation is not in the best interest of the community, and therefore the annexation proposal should fail. As detailed below, annexation would not improve existing services provided to the residents of 1720, and in reality, annexation would have detrimental negative impacts on residents within 1720. Detrimental negative impacts also would be suffered by the entire community, including the Village of Ossining, Village of Briarcliff Manor, and unincorporated area of the Town of Ossining. Simply, the petitioners have failed to demonstrate and cannot establish the minimum legal requirements for annexation. For years, the Town of Ossining has acted in a transparent manner by investigating and sharing all pertinent facts with the affected community. In contrast, it is this Town Board's opinion that the Village of Briarcliff Manor has not demonstrated a fair sense of transparency or open sharing of information. Unfortunately, it appears to this Town Board that as de facto sponsor of the proposed annexation, the Village Board is motivated by its attempt to take the Town of Ossining business district that presently supplies a majority of more than 30% of town tax revenue generated by Districts 17 and 20. The Village Board also may be guided by an unspoken agenda that if annexation is successful, the Village Board would utilize new tax dollars to fund the creation of a coterminous town village of Briarcliff Manor. It is also evident that the Village Board, in asserting that it can render services more efficiently, uses a completely inaccurate and artificial manner of measuring government efficiency. Utilizing a real-world method of comparing the manners in which the two governments spend taxpayer money, it is clear that the town operates at an efficiency level that the village simply cannot approach. Whether or not the village board is motivated by new tax dollars and an unspoken agenda to create a coterminous town village, there can be no doubt that petitioner's proposed annexation is not in the best interest of the community, and therefore the annexation proposal should fail. Then we move on to discussion. The town of Ossining reviewed the petitions received October 16, 2013. The town acknowledges that the petitions meet the statutory requirements in form and that the number of signatures meets the minimum requirements to trigger this review. Out of 218 required signatures, the town acknowledges that 268 are valid and not subject to challenge out of a total of 1,090 eligible electors in the districts, representing 24.6% of eligible electors. On December 12, 2013, in accordance with General Municipal Law Section 705, a joint public hearing of both governing boards was held. The law required that, at the hearing, quote, the boards hear any testimony and receive evidence and information which may be presented concerning the petition and the question of whether the annexation is in the overall public interest, including but not limited to testimony, evidence, and information, including the following. And this is from the statute, subdivision E, that the proposed annexation is or is not in the overall public interest, 1, of the territory proposed to be annexed, or 2, of the local government or governments to which the territory is proposed to be annexed, or 3, of the remaining area of the local government or governments in which such territory is situated, or 4, of any school district, fire district, or other district corporation, public benefit corporation, fire protection district, fire, I'm not sure what that is.
That's a quote.
Fire alarm district, I'm sorry, or town or county improvement district situated wholly or partly in the territory proposed to be annexed. This board acknowledges that New York State law requires that prior to holding a mandated referendum by the eligible voters in 1720, it must be established by the governing boards that annexation would be in the best interests of the community as a whole. The referendum would be the last step in the process, and there is no presumption in favor of a voter determination of annexation. It is a position of the town board that the main purpose of the joint public hearing was to elicit information from the public regarding the proposed annexation. Specifically, this board viewed the hearing as an opportunity for the residents of 1720 to state specifically, with factual support, why they either were for or against annexation. The hearing was not a forum for the municipalities to lobby the public to be either in favor of or against annexation. That stage of the process ended with the submission of the petitions and will only commence in the event the matter does proceed to a referendum after the boards complete their respective mandated reviews, or after court proceedings if this matter ends up before the appellate division and the court agrees that a referendum is in the public interest. This board concludes that establishing and changing municipal boundaries will cause significant impacts to multiple segments of the overall community. In the case of annexation, those impacts will be felt not just by the individuals living in the area being annexed, but in areas of the overall community that would never get a chance to vote if the matter goes to a referendum. This board therefore understands that it has been charged with performing a high degree of due diligence in determining the effects on all impacted parties. In addition, we believe that in order to justify the many impacts as well as the significant level of managerial and operational reorganization that would be necessary in the event of annexation, there needs to be a clear, actual, and tangible benefit to all the parties that is evident to both governmental bodies and the communities as a whole. It is not the role of either board to invent or surmise such benefits. Actual factual evidence is required. In conducting its mandated review, this board adhered to the established authorities and legal precedents on annexation as affirmed by the New York Court of Appeals by viewing benefit and detriment to the community defined in terms of municipal services such as police and fire protection, health regulations, sewer and water services, public utilities, and public education. We believe that the main purpose of annexation, and therefore the major focus of review under the law, is to facilitate the improvement of basic services being delivered to either the area being annexed or the municipality doing the annexing without harming other portions of the overall community. Our other inquiry, not as critical as our review of the impact of annexation on the delivery of services, yet still important, was whether the annexing local government and the territory to be annexed have the requisite unity of purpose and facilities to constitute a community, period.
This is under the subheading, the provision of services. We conclude that the town provides an excellent level of service to the people residing in 1720, as well as the entire unincorporated town. We also note that the quality of services provided by the town has not been the focus of the public at either the informational meetings held regarding annexation or during the joint public hearing. Few, if any, complaints were and are made by unincorporated residents concerning the quality of the services they receive from the town. To the contrary, the town is often complimented by the residents concerning the provided level of service. Those services are provided at a reasonable cost to the taxpayers, with the town maintaining a relatively low debt load and a high and improving bond rating. The town's finances are currently in an exemplary condition and have improved further with the sale of the former police building on North State Road. The town's fund balances meet and exceed the recommended levels by the New York State Comptroller, and the town has thus far not been required to override the tax cap to maintain its favorable financial condition. The town has also been at the forefront of sharing services through its extensive systems of intermunicipal agreements, eliminating many instances of government duplication. After giving full consideration to all aspects of the annexation as it relates to the delivery of services to 1720 as well as the other segments of the community, we have concluded that annexation of 1720 will not facilitate the improvement of services to 1720 or to any other portion of the greater community. In order to justify annexation, it must be shown not that taxes will be reduced, but that the residents of 1720 will benefit from improved services or receive services that otherwise aren't being provided as a result of annexation. Status quo is not sufficient. Improvements, without detriment to other parties, is what is required. In this regard, we stand by the position that the special districts that exist will not be impacted by annexation, as dictated by the law. Therefore, water, sewer, fire, ambulance, solid waste, and lighting service provision will not be changed, and the same services that are provided now will continue to be provided after annexation through the existing town special districts. We believe that this fact will result in double payment for those services in 1720, if annexed, as would also be the case for the libraries. That is not in the interest of the taxpayers in 1720. The village's reliance on the premise of modifying existing legal or contractual relations to modify the impact of the special districts is, at best, speculative. Such talk, in any event, represents an effort to create conditions that justify annexation, which is not the role of either board. Doing so would, in any event, require near-endless analysis of all the impacts, to all parties, of making such far-reaching changes to the current properly functioning governmental systems. We are required to examine existing conditions and facts to determine whether annexation is in the best interest of the overall community, not engage in speculation to create a different reality solely for the purpose of justifying annexation. The village is, and has been, directing much of its efforts into the issue of the special districts, namely whether they actually exist, the impact of the districts, and what can be done in the event of annexation to address the districts. Their efforts seem to focus on differentiating district from contracts. This discussion is not truly relevant to the annexation analysis and diverts the discussion from the real issue, which is the provision of services. We also do not feel that the village has the standing to question the matter, which is within the law, that the town provides services. That would be the role of the taxpayers who reside in the district. There is, however, a real logic to utilizing special districts to provide services. Special districts create greater transparency by allowing the taxpayers to review the specific costs and expenditures for specific services, instead of lumping them together in a master budget the way villages do. The continued focus by the village on the district versus contract discussion is diverting the village from the real issue, whether 1720 is receiving adequate service. There is also a fundamental difference in the approach between the town and village as to the most effective and efficient manner to provide services within their jurisdictions. The village consistently asserts that the direct provision of services is superior to the town's method. We disagree. Other than its use of this argument as a talking point, the village can present no actual evidence to support its position. As a matter of policy and practice, the town prides itself on always applying the best business-like approach to efficiently providing the highest level of service. This means, at all times, exploring options to provide the best return for taxpayer dollars. This approach is consistent with the mandates from New York State, which have promoted the benefits of shared services to eliminate duplicate layers of government and to reduce costs. New York State has been at the forefront of providing incentives for local governments to explore means to improve the efficiency of local government. The town has and will continue to take advantage of all available resources the state offers in this regard. Today, numerous intermunicipal agreements exist between the town and village of Ossining, covering such services as street lighting, fire protection, sewers, finance, parks, dumpsters, facilities, court functions, and cable access television. The town and village of Ossining also share a clerk's office, a treasurer and finance department, and a parks recreation department. Additionally, the town, through its refuse district, contracts with an outside vendor for solid waste removal and with the County of Westchester for police services. Significant portions of Westchester County and New York State are governed as unincorporated areas of towns. There has been no information or evidence presented that adding a village layer of government enhances services or provides any tangible benefits to the residents of those towns or villages. The state, however, has recognized the potential benefits from dissolving villages, and within recent years has modified the law to simplify the dissolution process and has also offered its technical assistance in that regard. Town and Village of Ossining officials have consistently demonstrated a fundamental concern with providing municipal services on an economical, efficient, and effective scale, and we believe that resident taxpayers are rarely concerned about the source of services if they are provided in an economical, efficient, and effective manner. We stand by our position that our cooperative agreements and outside vendor agreements have resulted in efficient and effective service delivery for our constituents. We will continue to keep our focus on cost sharing with resulting savings, and our goals in forming partnerships will continue to make strides towards win-win situations for the town and any other participating municipality. Over the past several years, the town has engaged in a number of in-depth efforts to analyze the services being provided with the goal of enhancing collective efficiency and effectiveness. These efforts, generally funded through grants, included a study on intermunicipal cooperation between the town and village of Ossining, conducted by Pace University in 2009, a study on the consolidation of law enforcement services for the village of Ossining, the town of Ossining, and the village of Briarcliff Manor by ICMA in 2010, an analysis on consolidation of public works within the village of Ossining, village of Briarcliff Manor, and town of Ossining conducted by Springstead in 2010, and most recently, a joint effort between the town and village of Ossining in 2011 to study the best municipal structures for providing municipal services conducted by CGR. Each and every one of these studies, although making recommendations for improvements, recognize the overall benefits afforded to the communities at large through our cooperative relationships. We will not back down from continuing our efforts in this regard, since we believe we are acting in the best interest of the public, consistent with the mandates and recommendations from New York State. Unfortunately, and not due to lack of effort on the part of the town, the same cooperative relationship as exists with the village of Ossining does not exist with the village of Briarcliff Manor. In addition, we strongly believe that 1720, if annexed, would lose the advantage of being part of a progressive, forward-thinking municipal government. Services reviewed by this board in its analysis included highway, police, and recreation. Again, the question will not be whether the services can be provided by Briarcliff Manor more affordably, but whether the services can be, or are being, provided by the town, and whether annexation will improve them without countervailing detriments to others. The town, in its analyses, has considered the quality of the services provided to the unincorporated area of the town and has concluded that there would be no improvement in services to 1720 if annexed. Discussed below are the major town services, including those services provided through special districts.
We're going to start with police services. As for police services, the town has considered the service provided by the Westchester County Police Department, including response times and other service components, and determined that there is no deficiency in police service provided to the town. To the contrary, we feel that the unincorporated area of the town has greatly benefited from the extraordinarily high level of professional services provided by Westchester County Police. The unincorporated areas of the town is fortunate to have an extremely low crime rate, and its policing needs reflect that fact. We have, however, constantly monitored performance criteria of the county police. During the term of the contract, county police performance, as measured by response times, mutual aid statistics, and public input, has been exemplary. Through the county, we have at all times been able to maintain the required level of police patrols without the coverage concerns normally faced by small police departments caused by illness, vacations, military service 207-C status, and other situations that typically limit available officers for patrols. The county force, due to its size, is always able to backfill patrols as needed and provide backup whenever required. In addition, the county provides full investigative support, internal affairs, forensics, traffic control, full insurance and indemnification, and communications. The other major benefit we have realized from our county contract has been the supervision provided on a 7-day-per-week, 24-hour-per-day basis. With smaller police forces, the availability of continuous supervision, in addition to providing patrols, is always an issue. With the county, the level of supervision has been constant and exemplary. The county has also consistently been responsive to any issues raised concerning police services. We have access to the highest level of management in addition to multiple levels below, who readily remedy any concern communicated to them. We receive regular communications and information from the county regarding police activity in the town. In addition, immediate and significant cost savings were realized from the switch from a local to a more regional force. Police services, as expected, are provided to the unincorporated town at a significant lower per capita rate than in the village. Like ambulance service, regionalization of police service is a necessary trend that will continue as a means of addressing the high and ever-increasing cost of providing first-rate police service. It is well known that several other communities in Westchester are looking to duplicate the Ossining Police contract. The decision to contract with the county was reached after the public expressed this as their preference during public meetings at which both the county and village of Ossining proposals were considered. Briarcliff Manor chose not to submit its own proposal, although it was invited to do so. We are now nearing the end of our initial 4-year contract. Although we are pleased with the services provided by the county and satisfied that we have saved significant taxpayer money through the contract, we nonetheless are obligated to request proposals from other interested municipal entities. In reviewing those proposals, we will expect nothing less than the high level of service we have received from the county. Whether or not the town renews its contract with the county, annexation will not improve police services in 1720. We also believe that any discussion by the village of the merits of community policing versus regional policing is nothing more than a talking point. There is simply no empirical data supporting the operational superiority of community policing, especially in light of the economic stresses faced by municipalities in the age of tax caps and the clear service advantage afforded through the regional police model. Next heading is Highway Department Services. Similar consideration has been given to the Highway Department. In that regard, the town has considered the recent referendum seeking to switch from an elected to appointed highway superintendent and the resounding vote in favor of retaining an elected highway superintendent, which is indicative of community support for the town's method of providing highway services. Town residents regularly praise the work our Highway Department performs, particularly in responding to snow events. The town has also benefited from the excellent engineering services and support of our Highway Department through an intermunicipal agreement with the village of Ossining, resulting in taxpayer savings of hundreds of thousands of dollars. This arrangement has greatly aided the town in planning and executing several vital infrastructure projects at the lowest possible cost to the taxpayers. Although we are always looking for ways to save taxpayer money by either sharing or consolidating services, our board has been unified in its goal of not reducing the already high level of service the town receives from the Highway Department. We therefore conclude that annexation will not improve highway services in 1720. Next heading is Recreation Services. Regarding recreation services, the town has considered the level and broad array of recreation services available to town residents, including access to the state-of-the-art indoor pool facility. Consideration has been given to the recreational opportunities provided to our residents and whether there is a deficiency in available recreation services in the town. In reviewing and comparing the recreational services available to the town residents and village residents, we believe that those recreational services are, at the very least, comparable. Many town services, such as senior programs, are also available to village residents, since they too are town residents. In our parks, there exists a cooperative relationship between the communities, as evidenced by the Briarcliff Little League's use of one of the town's Ryder Park fields. We do not believe that the use of the Briarcliff outdoor pool, open only 4 months per year in comparison to the town's 12 months, justifies annexation. This is also especially true given the limited number of residents that will likely make use of it. Town residents have full-year use of a magnificent full-year indoor pool facility at the Ossining Community Center every day of the year. Many village residents also make use of that pool facility. Within the town, residents also have available to them comparable and competitively priced facilities, such as the private Torview Club. As for recreation, we also believe there are significant opportunities for our communities to work together to improve recreation opportunities for all our constituents. Perhaps the village and town can reach an agreement that would open the village pool to town residents at an appropriate and reasonable price. Next heading is train station parking. Another matter which the village asserts would be a potential benefit to 1720 residents through annexation is the ability to park in the Scarborough train station parking lot, which currently requires use of parking attendants due to overcrowding. Parking is currently available at the Ossining train station parking lot. Commuters may find the Ossining station more convenient for any number of reasons, including the closer proximity to 1720 geographically, as well as the fact that the Ossining train station is an express stop. We conclude that a spot at the Scarborough station will provide no actual benefits to 1720. Additionally, if annexed, 1720 residents would pay more to park at the Scarborough station than at the Ossining station lot. There would be no improvement in parking services in the event of annexation. Next heading, streetlights. The service is provided through a special district. The Village of Ossining provides personnel, equipment, and materials necessary to maintain and repair the town's streetlights. There would be no change in street lighting and therefore no improvement in the event of annexation. Fire Protection District. Fire protection is provided through a special district. The Village of Ossining Fire Department furnishes exceptional fire protection services to the majority of the town, with the Village of Briarcliff Manor providing fire protection to a much smaller section, including a section of the proposed area to be annexed. There would be no change in fire protection service and therefore no improvements in the event of annexation. Sewers. Sewers are provided through a town-wide special district. The town highway department maintains the sewer lines and lift stations. The Village of Ossining disposes of sewage originated in the unincorporated town. There would be no change to the sewer service and therefore no improvement in the event of annexation. Water. Water service is provided through a town-wide special district. The Village of Ossining supplies our water, and consumers in the Ossining town-wide district pay for the water at an agreed-upon rate. There would be no change to this water service and therefore no improvement in the event of annexation. Ambulance. The residents of the unincorporated town, Village of Ossining, and a portion of the town of Newcastle receive extraordinary advanced life support and ambulance service through the Mid-Hudson Ambulance District, which contracts with the Ossining Volunteer Fire Ambulance Corporation. This partnership has provided the basis for ambulance service professionally staffed with 24-hour per day response times, which would be the envy of virtually any other emergency service provider. Thankfully for those residing in the town, this service would not be changed, and therefore there would be no improvement in the event of annexation. Solid waste. Townwide refuse and recycling collection is provided through a townwide solid waste special district. The town contracts with an outside vendor for refuse and recycling collection. The town receives excellent service at a fair and competitive rate. Like the police service agreement, the town bears no responsibility for pension, workers' compensation, and other benefit payments that emerge from providing this service, and has realized significant cost savings through the competitive bidding process. This service will not and should not change as a result of annexation. The favorable rate in the current contract, which includes 2-day-per-week pickups, is based on the economics of scale associated with providing service to the entire district. Refuse and recycling pickup is provided to the unincorporated residents as a result at a significantly lower per capita rate than in the village. This service will not and should not change as a result of annexation. Facilities. As a result of the long-standing intermunicipal agreement with the Village of Ossining and the County of Westchester, the town has been spared most of the cost of owning and maintaining certain buildings and facilities such as the court and police facility and town hall. The village, on the other hand, has well-documented long-term significant capital needs, including the need for a new police and court facility, improvements to its village hall, a new recreation center, and its library. Administration. As an unincorporated area of the town, governed solely by the town-wide government, the unincorporated area realizes extraordinary and undeniable benefits of sharing administrative costs between the town-wide and unincorporated functions of the government. Since the village is promoting the benefits of a coterminous town village, they surely must understand and appreciate the savings realized by the taxpayers. District 1720 already exists in the functional equivalent of a coterminous town village structure, a structure which the village has consistently promoted as superior to the simpler village within a town structure, exactly what the 1720 residents would be part of if annexed and the coterminous efforts on the part of the village fail. Courts. Under state law, every town must maintain a town court. Villages have no such requirement. Since the town court would have jurisdiction over any matters that could be brought before a village court within a town. Village courts and the expenses associated with them are thus optional. With the active encouragement and assistance of the 9th Judicial District and the Office of Court Administration, the Village of Ossining did dissolve its local court and merge its functions into the Ossining Town Court in 2012. Briarcliff Manor was actively encouraged to do the same, with the court administrative authorities finding no actual impediment to doing so. It chose not to engage in the process and continue to operate its own court. Residents in the unincorporated area currently do not need to pay for their own dedicated court. If annexed, 1720 would have to pay not only for their share of the cost of the Village of Briarcliff Manor Court, but also their share of the cost of the town court, without any additional benefit since the town court performs the exact same functions. As stated above, there has been no indication or proof that services to any constituent would be improved through annexation. Although our analysis could end there, we understand that members of the public are interested in other aspects of the annexation discussion brought up during several public information meetings.
We just need to change the tape, so we, again, thank you, Bear, for pairing with us. We're getting there. I know. Very important document.
Annexation history. Although the petitions were only recently delivered, the annexation debate has a long history, a history we believe is important to review. Annexation first came to the attention of the town board in approximately early 2011. We understand that the idea of annexation was initially led by a small group of property owners who organized the petition drive. They created a website promoting annexation and then commenced an intensive effort to encourage individuals to sign the petitions. During the initial period, this group was in complete control of the message. Once the annexation effort was brought to the attention of the town, efforts were made to understand the issues and the motivations of the proponents in an open and fully transparent manner. The town arranged for a town hall-style public meeting in May of 2011 to allow the public to express themselves on the topic and for information to be exchanged. As has always been the case, representatives of the Village of Briarcliff Manor government were invited and offered an opportunity to make a presentation. The village manager did appear at that meeting and made the first public presentation of the village's position. Fiscal impacts. In its first presentation, the village, via the village manager, represented that Briarcliff Manor was simply responding to the inquiries of town residents and that Briarcliff Manor was, quote, not soliciting annexation for additional area or financial expansion, end quote. There was no statement made concerning how annexation would improve services or whether any other public need could be addressed through annexation. He did, however, make the first of many public claims of potential tax savings that would result from annexation. At that time, the estimates he conveyed to the public were a 14.39% reduction in unincorporated town taxes for 1720 residents and a 3.96% reduction for Briarcliff Village residents. No mention was made of the tax impacts on the remaining area of the unincorporated town. In response, the town formulated its analysis of the potential tax implications of annexation, and in August 2011 made those conclusions public. We believe that this analysis was performed utilizing realistic assumptions and, at that time, current figures. The conclusion reached by the town at that time was that the potential savings to 1720 residents would be no more than 0.5% of their total taxes, without taking into consideration capital projects that the village had already acknowledged would be necessary and which would more than eliminate any claimed savings. At the same time, the town also found that the remaining area of the unincorporated town would see a 24% increase in its unincorporated taxes, an average of $536 per household. The town also estimated that Briarcliff Manor Village taxes would also increase by 7%, contrary to the village's claims. These conclusions were presented to the public in another town hall-style public meeting held in September 2011. The village manager was also invited to that meeting and was given an opportunity to speak, during which time he reiterated his representation regarding the potential positive tax impacts for 1720. These meetings were recorded and televised and were reported on extensively by the local media. The village also held its own meetings with 1720 residents in or around that time period. At least one meeting was held at the Briarcliff Manor Library, attended by the village mayor and village board members, without prior notice to the town and without notice to the public at large. All town meetings on annexation were held with full public notice and with invitations to all members of the public to be heard. The matter thereafter went quiet for several months, until March of 2012, when the village circulated its annexation update presentation to the 1720 residents. In that update, the village raised its estimates of alleged tax savings for 1720 residents to 26.6% and 8.91% for the village as a whole, again without adequate support and without mention of the impacts on the rest of the unincorporated town. As of this past December, the village estimate of tax savings for 1720 ballooned to 29% and fell for the village to 5.985%. The town has continued to update its analysis and continues to maintain its position that tax savings for 1720, if any, would be minimal, that the balance of the unincorporated town would experience steep increases, and that Briarcliff Manor residents would realize no benefits and may see tax increases. Methodology of analysis. To be clear, as stated above, the town does not consider individual property owners' rate of taxation before annexation or after annexation to be a significant factor in determining whether annexation would be in the overall public interest. However, without intending to lend credence to the village's misguided focus on taxation, we believe we owe a duty to the public to address this point. In reviewing the history of the dialogue, it is easy to discern why taxation rates are not the proper focus of review. With taxation, there are simply too many variables and too many opportunities to manipulate numbers. These numbers, as can be seen by constantly changing village numbers, are moving targets. The numbers are easily manipulated by varying assumptions on key elements, such as manpower and the value of possible future contracts. Regarding the village's latest tax estimates, improper assumptions are made by the village. 1, that would require the town to renegotiate virtually all of its intermunicipal and third-party service agreements and contracts. 2, that suggests the law regarding special districts in annexation can be ignored. And 3, that village services can be provided to additional 1720 residents with little increase in cost. We find those assumptions to lack credibility. Promising lower taxes through annexation is not appropriate in our view. There is no possible and responsible way that the village can guarantee future tax decreases to 1720. We believe that the people do understand this concept since, despite ever-expanding promises of lower taxes, over a time period exceeding 2 years, over 75% of 1720 residents elected not to sign the petition. The fact is that providing services costs money. The constants that all governments must deal with are universal and include such items as union-negotiated salaries and benefits, pension contributions, utilities, insurance, facility and equipment maintenance, and the full array of higher government mandates. We do not agree that the village of Briarcliff Manor has somehow found a way to avoid these universal costs, or that the village government operates at some level of efficiency that other municipal governments cannot achieve. Despite the village's focus on small salaries of the town board members and town supervisor, the town's administrative costs are comparatively low when the salary of the village manager is considered. Once again, this is an example of how facts can easily be manipulated. Through our analysis, we conclude that the only way the village will be able to come through on its lower tax promise, if it's possible at all, would be to drastically reduce the level of services the people of 1720 are used to receiving from the town. Clearly, the village's promises related to future taxation simply cannot be considered credible or reliable information to be factored into an annexation analysis. There is an even greater flaw in the analysis by the village with respect to the comparative efficiencies of providing services to constituents. The village bases its claim of higher efficiency through an analysis of taxation rates per $1,000 of assessed value. This is not the proper method of analyzing the efficiency or effectiveness of service provision. In the real world, services are provided to people, not increments of property value.
The cost analysis relied upon by the village is skewed by the differential in average assessed values per property. The village is a wealthy community, and, as such, it contains many homes and properties of very high value. The unincorporated town, on the other hand, tends more towards the middle class with property values which reflect that fact. The village contains approximately 2,650 parcels with a population of 7,115 and a total assessed value of approximately $98,287,295. The average assessment per parcel is $37,089.54. As for the unincorporated town, there are 1,945 parcels, a population of 5,293, and a total assessed value of $49,600,032. The average assessment per parcel is $25,501.30. Tax rates are based on dividing government expenditures by thousands of dollars of assessed value. Based on its overall higher assessed value, it is only logical that the tax rate per $1,000 of assessed value would appear artificially lower. However, as the town has analyzed and concluded, the actual tax rates per $1,000 in assessed value of the unincorporated town and the village are relatively close. The reason is quite simple and can be explained by expenditures. In 2011, unincorporated town expenditures, including special districts, totaled $8,451,000, as compared with expenditures in the village totaling $21,700,000. The differential in the cost of providing services per person and parcel between the town and village is striking. The cost per parcel in the village was $8,188.68 and $3,049.89 per person. In the unincorporated town, the cost was $4,344.98 per parcel and $1,596.63 per person. Just as striking is a comparison of the per capita municipal debt load. As of 2011, Briarcliff Manor carried a total outstanding debt of $46,869,682, the equivalent of $6,587.44 per person. In contrast, the town debt load, which will be reduced due to the sale of the former police building, was $7,374,509 in 2011, the equivalent of $1,393.25 per person. In subsequent years, the incongruity between what is spent per capita in the two municipalities has remained constant or increased. Once again, since services are rendered to people, it is virtually impossible to ignore the exceptionally high level of efficiency realized by the town. The budgets verify that, in reference to virtually all services, the town renders those services at a lower per capita cost than the village. All town taxpayers, regardless of the actual taxes paid on a particular property, benefit from the high level of efficiency at which the town operates. That efficiency, gained through innovation, hard work, and the willingness to explore cost savings sharing arrangements, would be directly threatened in the event annexation proceeded. The implication of the focus of the village on tax rates, as opposed to actual costs tied directly to average assessed values, is that the village is promoting annexation as a means for 1720 to become part of a wealthier community, since they would then benefit from their relatively lower assessed values. Not only is this concept contrary to true purpose of annexation under the law, but it would set a dangerous precedent, as well as being simply the wrong way neighboring municipalities should interact.
Next heading is the village's agenda. We also find it significant that the village has never come out in a public forum and stated whether it is in favor of annexation, even though its method of presentation and its increasing estimates of lower taxes has consistently demonstrated an effort to convince the 1720 residents to sign the petition. In this regard, we find that the village has not been forthcoming in presenting to the public its motivations. We believe that the village has a responsibility, if it promoted annexation, to present its position, including its reasons for supporting annexation, in an open and transparent manner. Without a clear statement by the village as to its motivation, we and the public are forced to draw our own conclusions that either there is no purpose, or that the village, contrary to the village manager's public statement, is seeking to enlarge its tax base through the acquisition of the North State Road Business Corridor. Its promotion of annexation is in fact consistent with various statements indicating the village sees annexation as a means of addressing and spreading the load of its very large debt burden, or as an important step towards its ultimate goal of seeking coterminous town-village status, a matter which we will not address at this time since it is not directly relevant to these findings and determination. If, however, as we believe, the goal of the village is to promote annexation solely to enlarge its tax base and spread its significant debt load over a larger population, that would amount to an effort to shift taxation and its subsequent revenues from one community to another without any corresponding benefits to the community as a whole. This, again, is not a proper basis for annexation. Annexation would serve as a diversion from the real issue that plagues the village, how to rein in its high per capita expenditures and address its high debt load. Addressing these issues should be the top priority, not covering up the problem by annexing additional tax-rateable and assessable area. Next heading is detriments to the remainder of the town. The town, as required, has also considered the detriments to areas of the town not included in the annexation effort. The town has considered the verifiable estimates regarding the tax implications to the areas not being annexed and, to the extent possible, the balance of Briarcliff Manor. There must be clear and verifiable, not just perceived, benefit to all affected parties to provide a basis to approve annexation. An increase in overall tax revenue could be a factor justifying annexation. However, simply shifting tax revenue from one municipality to another does not constitute an increase in overall tax revenue. If annexation facilitates the provision of services to an area which would allow greater development, thereby increasing overall tax revenues, that factor might favor annexation. That is not the situation existing herein. Annexation is not in the overall public interest where one municipality loses tax revenue without any corresponding benefit. Therefore, the fact that 1720 has only 25% of the unincorporated town's population but a higher percent of the unincorporated town's assessed value is a major factor we considered in determining that the remaining area of the unincorporated town will be harmed, let alone not benefited by annexation. The commercial properties on North State Road are vital to the ability of the town to maintain a balanced tax base, which is vital to the entire unincorporated area of the town. We also find it significant that the village, in its attempts to justify its estimates of tax reductions, relies heavily on the concept of economics of scale. In doing so, it ignores the reverse impact that annexation would have on the remaining areas of the unincorporated town. By reducing the economics of scale in the remaining area of the town, cost of services on a per capita basis will go up. Taking police services as an example, if the size of the unincorporated town is reduced, the need to have patrols on its roads will not be equivalently reduced. Likewise, the same logic will apply to highway services, engineering, financing, administration, and facilities. Other factors. It is also significant to our determination that 1720 are already fully developed, nearly to capacity. Proposed use of the annexed land can be an important factor in justifying annexation. In this case, there are no proposed new uses for 1720 which would either benefit those districts or the balance of Briarcliff Manor. The impact to the village of Ossining has also been considered by the town as a factor in determining that annexation is not in the overall public interest, since the remaining governmental unit could also be said to include the village of Ossining as part of the town. This analysis focused on the cooperative existing relationships between the town and the village of Ossining through a myriad of intermunicipal agreements. Those agreements, such as finance, clerk, rent, facilities, among many others, indicate that carefully calibrated budgets of both municipal entities and staffing levels in various departments would be impacted. Again, there has been no benefit from annexation that has been identified which would justify the numerous changes that would need to occur to existing legal and contractual relations, all that currently function very well and which provide significant tax savings through efficiencies gained through elimination of duplications of services. Suggestions have also been made by annexation proponents that the unincorporated town should simply be split up and the parts absorbed by the villages of Briarcliff Manor and Ossining. Interestingly, on the 1720 website, proponents suggest that annexation is the only way to head off being absorbed by the village of Ossining. That argument was no doubt intended to scare 17 residents into signing the petition, although unsuccessfully. In fact, annexation of any portion of the unincorporated town into the village of Ossining is not on the table. An internal petition to start that process would also be required, and to our knowledge, there is no such petition being circulated. Next heading is unity of purpose / community. The other factor which we considered is whether the annexing local government and the territory to be annexed have the requisite unity of purpose and facilities to constitute a community. On this question, we have considered whether the residents of 1720 feel more a part of Ossining or Briarcliff communities. In reviewing this issue, we conclude that the requisite unity of purpose between the residents of 1720 and Briarcliff Manor does not exist, and there is a greater connection and affinity to Ossining. In making this conclusion, we have considered the level of community support in the form of signatures on the petition as a significant factor. After 2 years of extensive lobbying by the pro-annexation group, assisted by the village with ever-increasing promises of reduced taxes, the number of signatures is still well below half the eligible voters in the districts. We have also considered the comments by the residents made during the public hearing, as well as those written comments received during the comment period after the meeting. In total, the vast majority of comments have been against annexation. We have been particularly impressed by the time and effort of residents who wrote compelling emails and letters urging us to reject annexation. It is one thing to sign a petition, whether one feels under duress, fully understands it or not, but it is quite another to get up at a public meeting and speak or communicate your thoughts through emails or letters. Also, based on the attendance at the public meeting, it does not appear that a majority of those who signed the petition have strong feelings concerning annexation. It appeared that most people decided to stay home that evening and also refrained from submitting written proposals or written comments. On this issue, it also needs to be reemphasized that the school district boundaries won't change, as 1720 will remain in the Ossining School District. They will also continue to get their water and sewer services, as well as solid waste and street lighting through the existing special districts. Part of 1720 will also continue to be served by the Ossining Ambulance District and Ossining Fire District. We also note that a vital part of our community, the business community, has not communicated its support for annexation. We have not received expressions of support for annexation from any individual North State Road business owner or from any business organization such as the Chambers of Commerce or Rotary Clubs. This is an important portion of our community that would also not be permitted to vote in the event of a referendum. Geographically, there is also no greater affinity between 1720 and the village than there is within the town. If annexed, 1720 would appear as an appendage connected to the village on one side but bordering other municipalities on 3 sides. There is simply and clearly no geographic condition or connection that favors annexation. We have also considered the arguments made by some annexation proponents that being annexed to the village would somehow improve the quality of governmental representation that they receive. We find no merit to that assertion. There is no support for the belief that 1720's residents would somehow benefit from a more responsive government if absorbed by the village. The 1720 area will still be just one section of an overall village, and their needs will be subservient to the needs of the greater village. They will receive no greater or special representation or attention. The town now completely governs the unincorporated town, as evidenced by the high level of services at a reasonable cost provided to the unincorporated town. Furthermore, the unincorporated town benefits from both a planning and zoning board with members appointed solely from the unincorporated town. If annexed, land use in 1720 would be controlled by the village as a whole without any guarantees that decisions made would be in the best interests of 1720. To those who also feel that being absorbed by the village would somehow improve their status or increase their property values, we must take issue with that belief and add our comments. It is presumed that property owners either knew or should have known where they bought their homes. Location is indeed a fundamental decision homeowners make. Seeking, after having made that choice, to change municipal boundaries to enhance perceived status or for any reason is a misuse of the laws that allow annexation. The clear purpose of the law is to improve the ability to render municipal services to the greatest number of residents. If residents aren't pleased with their current circumstances, they should participate in the political process to effect changes. The annexation process should not be used to circumvent the democratic political process by those who disagree with decisions by duly elected representatives. Layers of government. Finally, we need to address what we believe is a misconception that has been circulated concerning annexation. Proponents of annexation claim as an argument in favor that it will eliminate a layer of government. We disagree and instead conclude that it would add an unnecessary layer of government, not eliminate one. In New York State, counties are divided into towns and cities. Villages, however, can only exist within towns or as coterminous town villages. Even in the coterminous arrangement, the functions of a town government are not eliminated. They exist equally with village government functions. Only the village structure of government is optional. Towns cannot be dissolved, but villages can, and have often been dissolved as a way to eliminate duplications of government layers. We are not suggesting that the village dissolve, but if there is truly an interest in reducing government duplication, the option should be explored. The coterminous option for the village also does not reduce layers of government, since it creates 2 town layers of government in place of 1. Additionally, the process to create a coterminous town village is a difficult one, and for many reasons it will prove divisive. Interestingly, in all of New York State, there are only 5 coterminous town villages, but in the last century at least 35 villages have dissolved. In sum, we believe that instead of creating barriers, we should all work together in exploring ways for the community as a whole to reduce costs and lower taxes. Instead of building walls between our communities, we should be building bridges. One segment of the community seeking to benefit on the back of another is not the way to go. Determination. For all the reasons described above, we, the Town Board of the Town of Ossining, are unanimous, subject to your vote, in determining that annexation will not be in the best interest of the Town of Ossining, respectfully submitted. Now, these findings, objections, and determinations, subject to your vote, shall constitute the order of the Town Board pursuant to General Municipal Law, Section 711, Subdivision B, adopted by Town Resolution of today's date.
Okay. Whew. Thank you.
Yeah.
I do want to ask that the resolution be read, and then if any council members have a comment, they may make a comment at that point.
Okay. Resolution P, final determination of the proposed election districts 17 and 20 annexation. Resolved that the town board hereby adopts the proposed annexation findings and determination as read into the record and incorporated herein, and determines in the affirmation that petitions for the proposed annexation of election districts 17 and 20 in the unincorporated area of Ossining to the village of Briarcliff Manor complied with requirements of Article 17 of the New York General Municipal Law, but that annexation will not be in the overall best interests of either election districts 17 and 20, the remainder of the unincorporated town, the village of Briarcliff Manor, and the village of Ossining, and that no further steps in the annexation process as set forth in Article 17 of New York State General Municipal Law should be pursued. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Any comments from the board?
I do. Once again, with my,
Why don't you use the other mic? Turn that one off so it doesn't static.
I would have liked to have been so moved or second this motion since I live in District 20.
And we,
I'm saying it with a smile. I appreciate the work that was done on this, and I think that we worked very hard. This board was working on it before I was on the board, but I was always been a constituent in this area when this first came up. I remember all these meetings. I do not believe, as someone who lives in the unincorporated town in District 20, that it is it helps us in any way to make this change. I believe that it would be very detrimental to all of the parts that are left. That would be the unincorporated town that is not District 17 and 20, and in furtherance the town at large. I just think that it's not at all in our best interest. But I do hope that we will work together more. I do think that there are parts of the statement that talk about that, and I think that we should truly work on a more cooperative way of working together. We do so much more with the village of Ossining. I'd like to do that more with the village of Briarcliff, and to really become more cooperative as a town. But I thank everyone on this board for this work, and I'm glad that we are about to vote.
maybe so. I too would like to congratulate all of my co-council members, Wayne, Maddie, in putting together this analysis. It is indeed an in-depth study of the annexation or possible annexation process, and I think it's remarkably well done, well written, understandable, lengthy, but that's the way it should have been. The law requires that we do an in-depth analysis, and that's exactly what this board has done. I'm very proud of the board for this action, and I will be voting that the annexation will not improve services to those. Yes. No.
Madam Supervisor, I have a couple of comments, if I may. I just need to first echo all of the comments of my colleagues here as to the effort and time that went into this behind the scenes. A lot certainly was public in terms of meetings and preparation and things like that, but there's a lot of additional work and just the mental commitment to see this through in the best way and in the most transparent way for the benefit of everybody who's been a part of this process, and even the people who are not directly part of it but would be impacted by it. So thank you, everybody on this board, and Wayne, Maddie, for your hard work. I've spent a lot of time on this issue, and I mean it goes back years. I'm only on this board since 2012, but even before that, I found myself at a meeting in the village of Briarcliff Manor that was attended by the board of Briarcliff Manor. At least I know they had a quorum. I don't know how many members actually were there, but there was a presentation given by the village manager at that meeting, and I found it noteworthy that that meeting was not publicized, at least not publicly, and I think word got out at the time at the meeting that I was going to be in attendance and looking to speak, and I was dissuaded by members at the dais from speaking, and I thought that was really the wrong way to approach this whole annexation process. That I was at a public meeting that was not publicized. I was a member of the audience wanting to speak and was being told I shouldn't speak. Luckily, some upset members of the audience spoke up and said, no, everyone gets a chance to speak. And through the cries of the audience, I was able to speak about some questions and thoughts that I had. But I was upset that that was the approach that I was introduced to this annexation proposal years ago. And unfortunately, I am disheartened by the fact that the tone, I believe, carried by the village of Briarcliff Manor throughout these proceedings never really improved much, in my opinion. And I was present when I heard remarks from representatives of the village of Briarcliff or representatives of the committee to annex Briarcliff Manor to annex to Briarcliff Manor. I heard divisive comments and what I believe to be one-sided and self-serving comments. I'm very grateful that this board did not go down that road. We've maintained utmost transparency throughout, and I'm proud of that because I was, well, there's another way, and we didn't go that way. But I want to take this time and switch gears a little bit. I want to take the time to thank the village manager of Briarcliff Manor, and I want to thank the committee to annex to Briarcliff Manor. I'm grateful on a level that exceeded my expectations because, frankly, we had to peel away some layers here. We had to look closely. We didn't want to. I personally think this has been a manifest waste of time and taxpayer money. But through this process, we've been forced to look very closely at how our government runs and our communities and the services that are provided to our communities. And I reluctantly spent a lot of time on understanding how our police services are provided and how the highway services are provided. Not that I didn't know, but boy, when you're forced to look closely at something and to put everything under a microscope, I'm thrilled at what I discovered about our town. And this wouldn't have been possible for me as a member of this great community and as a member of this board. I would not have had that opportunity but for this whole annexation process. And frankly, I believe this may be the single most significant piece of legislation that I will pass as a member of the Town of Ossining Board, because if we are not successful in defeating this proposal, it forever changes the profile of our beautiful community. So I'd like to close by saying I think that we have proven here, and I think everyone in this room, everyone watching on their TVs, and everybody who may pull this off the internet website, I think we've established here that the services provided to the Town of Ossining residents are exceptional, and I thank all the service providers for that. I think we have an amazing community. This process has shown that we are trendsetters, we are progressive, we are aggressive in treating our governance seriously, and to the extent of finding efficiencies, we're businesslike, and we are steadfast, and I think the numbers are clear. When in going through this process, I just want to reiterate some of the numbers that I discovered through this process. Was the cost of services, excuse me, the cost of services, Village of Briarcliff Manor is $8,188 per parcel and $3,050 per person. The Town of Ossining provides these exceptional services at virtually half the cost. Half. At the Town of Ossining is $4,344 per parcel and $1,596 per person. Half the cost for exceptional services. I invite Briarcliff Manor to take a page out of this analysis and take a look at how good we're doing. And as has been said here, let's build some bridges. I think the Town of Ossining has extended many, many times an opportunity for Briarcliff to be part of our team. And time and time again, we're shunned for various reasons that I don't quite understand. But I could tell you at the end of the day, when you have an opportunity to participate in this community and provide services, exceptional services at such a low cost, we've got to be doing something really right here, and I'm proud of it. And that's all I've got. Thank you.
You're going to say one? Can I just say one last thing?
Go ahead.
I just wanted to say one last thing, which was for all the people who live in any area who were part of this process, who came to all the meetings, who wrote all of the emails, who talked about this, have been in the room all these years. It's not just this board. It's all the constituents. It's everybody who's been a part of this process, and it's really important. And we thank you all, and we all for that too.
Okay, so I think everything's been said. I've been quite vocal about this for a long time, trying to do the right thing, and I want to thank everybody that was involved in this process, and you're absolutely right, Councilwoman Jeffrey, that it is a lot of the input came from the residents, and we have sat and listened. And we are moving into another project after this is done, which will involve the Village of Briarcliff, the Village of Ossining, and the entire unincorporated area, and that's the reval program. So I hope we can all work together and get that done. I would like to ask that the clerk do a roll call vote on this issue. So, Madam Clerk.
Councilmember.
Let's make it perfectly clear. Well, we're saying that if we vote yes, that we are not if we vote, you have to do a yes vote. Learn this. You have to do a yes vote. So when we vote yes, we are not in favor of the annexation of 17 and 20 in Briarcliff Manor. That's what that resolution said.
And you were adopting the findings, determinations, and objections
Right. And we are.
as required by law. You
If
have
you-
to state your objections and give your findings by
Right.
law.
Right, so we've stated, so as, I hope you heard the attorney, we have stated our objections, and we are, that's why we read our entire findings into law. So, Madam Clerk, and then I have a gift for you when this roll call is done. So, Madam Clerk.
Roll call vote, Councilmember Jeffrey,
Yes.
Councilmember Harder,
Yes.
Councilmember Wilshire,
Yes.
Councilmember Blaha,
Aye.
Supervisor Donnelly.
Aye, and with pleasure, this is the book that has every backup document, including every email we received, every time we did the SECRA, everything we did in as far as the proposed annexation of election district 17 and 20. If anyone wants to come and look at it, it will be in the clerk's office. We have boxes of stuff, but Madam Clerk, I would love to hand this off to you as part of the record.
And there's one more technical requirement at the
So it's all in favor was yes, so we won. Yeah.
at the very end of the findings, objections, and determination, there is a indication of adoption, also that the fact that this is going to constitute this board's order, which is required by law, which I'm going to ask the board members to sign, the
Okay.
last page, and then be handed over to the town clerk for filing with the town clerk's office in accordance with the provisions of law.
Thank you, sir. I just want to point out that this may not be the last step. Tonight at 8 o'clock this evening, the Village of Briarcliff voted on whether annexation was in the best interest of the entire town of Ossining, which, of course, we all know includes the unincorporated area, the complete Village of Ossining, and 91% of the Village of Briarcliff. If they voted in the affirmative that it was in the best interest, then theirs is a yes vote and ours is a no vote. At that point, the municipality with the yes vote has the option, and it's an option, to ask the appellate court to it refers it to the appellate court.
In which case, the appellate court would then commence its own review
Right,
as if it were the municipal boards.
right. Again, if you didn't hear that, it would commence its own reviews as if it was a municipal board. Yeah, but can the camera? Yeah, good. Okay, good. Okay. So we're not sure where we stand, but this board resoundingly has voted against the annexation of 17 and 20 to the Village of Briarcliff Manor from the unincorporated area, and we have given our finding statement and all the backup documentation. So I want to thank you all very much. Madam Clerk,
Letter Q,
we just have one more resolution.
tax payment plan, whereas the town board of the town of Ossining is required to collect town, county, and school taxes for a municipality with the onus on the town to make the whole the county and the school district for any uncollected taxes, and whereas the receiver of taxes has been approached by a property owner requesting a short-term payment plan for 3 properties on Ann Street, and whereas the town board occasionally grants such a plan and has the discretion to accept or reject any proposal by a resident or commercial property owner. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Ossining hereby grants the aforementioned payment plan to this property owner with the understanding that this sets no precedent going forward for this or any other property in the future. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Monthly reports. Resolved that the town board of the town of Ossining hereby accepts the following monthly reports for the month of February 2014 from the town clerk's office, town supervisor's office, town building department, GE helicopter report, town highway department, tax receiver's office. Do I have a motion?
So moved?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
yeah, we do every month. Miracle.
Can I have a motion to adjourn? Or is there, I'm sorry, is there any visitors
Oh, yeah,
that
you have
wish to address the board?
Is there any visitor recognition? Anybody would like to come and address the board? You're more than welcome. On any subject now. This is the any subject. Oh, okay.
I would just like to thank you for all this amazing hard work that you did, because when you vote for elected officials, you hope that they represent you in your best interest, and I really feel you do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else who wishes to address the board?
And my thank you, my husband's thank you for this, all your hard work, and we really, really appreciate. Had no idea what was all involved, but what you did, absolutely, and it was very understandable to me, and I really have no legal background, so I thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Anyone else? I'd like to have a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion to
So moved?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
So I want to thank you for the people that came out tonight. Our meetings usually are not quite this lengthy, but it was an extremely important meeting that we had tonight. We want to welcome anyone that wants to come to our meetings, and whether it be a work session. Next week we will have our work session at 16 Croton Avenue. Please watch for the agenda items. We'll be talking about some interesting topics. And I want to remind everyone to go to the concert, the pre-St. Patrick's Day concert, to benefit the Waterfront Summer Concert Series. We have concerts every Friday night down at the waterfront, and we're, because of budget restraints, the village and the town both put money into it, but we need help from the residents so that we can bring in very good bands and stuff. And excellent Grammy-nominated, the Jammin' Divas and Erin Hill and her Psychedelic Harp will be playing on Friday night. $40, and you get a pint of Guinness, if you're over 21, of course. $20 for students, $20 for seniors, and children under 12 free with an adult. So I want to thank you, and I hope you join us on Friday night. I want to thank everyone that participated in this major project that we have done. We continue to take on these very aggressive stances on the things that need to get done in this community. So we look for support of the residents, and we're very happy and pleased to be your representatives on this board. So we thank you very much. And good night.